Chosen one, you've been lied to for far too long. The people around you, the ones you've trusted, admired, or even feared, have been playing a dangerous game. They've built their entire sense of power on deception, on numbers, on groupthink. They've tried to make you believe their influence is something you need to fear, that their collective strength is a force to be reckoned with. But here's the bombshell you've been waiting for. Their power has always been a mirage, built on fragile illusions, and it's nothing compared to what you possess. You see, they're terrified of one thing above all, the fact that you don't need them to succeed. Your strength isn't borrowed or dependent on any alliance, any number, or any crowd. Your power flows from a divine source that they cannot comprehend. You are unstoppable, unshakable, and they know it. The truth is, they fear the light you carry, because it exposes every crack in their false empire. So here's what they don't want you to know. They've been hiding behind numbers, whispering behind your back, and trying to convince you that you're alone. But the reality is, it's them who are weak. It's them who rely on each other's validation to stay afloat. And you've been walking alone with a purpose they can't touch, a power they can never replicate. The truth is about to hit them like a freight train, and it's about time you saw it for what it really is. Now, before we dive into this revelation, I need you to affirm your readiness. Drop a comment below with, "I am ready," and a quick favor. My videos have been facing challenges in reaching those who truly resonate with this message. If you find value in what's about to unfold and want to support its creation, please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe. Your support makes all the difference in ensuring that this truth reaches the right people, and your involvement helps fuel this mission forward. The illusion of loyalty and alliances. You've surrounded yourself with people, friends, allies, family, those you've trusted and believed in. You've shared moments, laughed together, and believed in the bonds you've built. But what if the loyalty you relied on is a facade? What if the alliances you thought were unbreakable are fragile at best, built on shifting sands of self-interest and hidden agendas? Many people you think are loyal are wearing masks that hide their true motives. They'll appear supportive, kind, and trustworthy, but behind that mask is something more. Their loyalty often stems not from genuine care, but from their own fears, insecurities, or desires for control. These individuals may not be enemies outright, but they are not as devoted to your cause as you may have believed. Their support is conditional, and their true intentions are motivated by their own needs or desires. Think of a theater production. A beautiful mask hides the true face beneath. In life, this mask represents the social agreements, the collective validation, and the loyalty that people display. But like all masks, it's temporary, and it doesn't represent the true character behind it. When the mask is removed, what's left? Often, it's a person whose support and affection are based more on what they stand to gain than on any real affection or partnership with you. These individuals may engage in your journey, but they are always calculating, weighing their own benefit against yours. Their alliances are like a chess game, where each move is made with self-interest in mind, not a shared goal. Trusting them blindly without seeing their true intentions could leave you vulnerable. The real shift happens when you step into your own power, when you stop relying on others for validation, and when you begin to operate from a place of divine clarity and purpose. This is when the cracks in their carefully constructed illusions begin to appear. Their facade wasn't built to withstand the strength of someone who's aligned with a higher purpose. Your presence Your actions begin to destabilize everything they've worked so hard to hide. Imagine a glass structure, gleaming and flawless on the outside, but fragile underneath. When the storm comes, when the pressure increases, the glass will crack. Your presence doesn't need to force the cracks. It's the weight of your truth, your alignment with something greater, that causes it to break. Their illusions are built on lies, manipulation, and collective fear. They depend on groupthink, on numbers, on social validation, thinking these things protect them. But when you stand firm in your purpose, their grip starts to slip. The more they try to maintain control, the more they reveal their fragility. Like a house of cards teetering on the edge, their foundation isn't strong enough to endure the force of your clarity. Every step you take exposes the emptiness of their power. They can't manipulate someone whose strength doesn't come from external forces, someone whose confidence isn't shaken by their schemes. It's a pattern they can't hide from any longer. Their alliances and support systems are built on sand. They cling to each other because they're afraid of standing alone. But when you step forward with purpose and divine guidance, their alliances dissolve. The foundation they once relied on becomes exposed for what it truly is, shaky and unstable. The more they try to hold things together, the more they reveal their weaknesses. Your strength shines a light on their fears and deceptions. It's not that you're fighting them directly. It's that your mere existence, your steady focus, and your unwavering faith in your path cause their carefully constructed world to crumble. They can't hold on to illusions when faced with the undeniable truth of someone who is solid, self-sufficient, and rooted in purpose. The deceptive power of groups. People often seek refuge in groups, drawing strength from the idea that there's safety in numbers. They gather, form alliances, and lean on the collective energy of the group, believing that being surrounded by others gives them power. But the strength they derive from these numbers is not as solid as they might think. It's fragile, built on the idea of numbers rather than true purpose or intent. In truth, their strength is an illusion, one that vanishes the moment they are faced with something stronger than their crowd. Groupthink is a powerful force that keeps individuals bound together. It's like a sea of people, each floating along with the current, not daring to swim against it. The group provides a sense of comfort, a shared belief that there is safety in conformity. Within a group, the individual becomes part of the collective, their identity diluted and often obscured by the opinions and actions of the masses. It's easier to follow the crowd, to remain silent, and to hide behind the security of a collective voice. In these moments, the power of the individual is lost, swallowed by the overwhelming noise of the group. Everyone becomes a part of the same, unified whole, but that unity is deceptive. What the members of the group fail to realize is that their strength is not their own. It's the number of people around them that makes them feel strong. They have been tricked into believing that their shared presence provides them with an unshakable foundation. But that foundation is not rooted in true conviction, only in the fear of standing alone. It's like a house built on sand. While it may seem sturdy for a while, it's only a matter of time before it collapses under pressure. Groups, no matter how large, lack the depth and clarity of a single individual who stands firm in their purpose and belief. This reliance on numbers feeds into the concept of groupthink, where the desire to belong and to conform outweighs the pursuit of truth or personal integrity. Groupthink is like a warm blanket that comforts those who feel uncertain. It tells them that as long as they are with others, they are safe, even if it means abandoning their own voice or truth. It's a dangerous comfort, one that encourages people to silence their own thoughts, their own wisdom, and instead follow the crowd. This mindset stifles individuality and keeps people in a constant state of dependence on the group. It becomes difficult to see clearly, to think critically, or to stand up for what's right when the whole group is pulling in one direction, even if that direction is wrong. The real danger of groupthink lies in the loss of personal responsibility and purpose. When people hide behind the collective, they stop questioning the motives of the group or the decisions being made. They begin to take comfort in the safety of numbers, assuming that because the group believes in something, it must be true or right. But truth is not determined by consensus. A large group may appear strong, but if its foundation is built on shallow beliefs, manipulations, or fears, that strength is only temporary. It's like a tree with roots that don't reach deep into the soil. Its branches may stretch wide, but the first strong gust of wind can uproot it entirely. The strength that comes from groups is superficial, built on what is easy and comfortable, not on what is real or lasting. People in groups often operate on fear. Fear of standing alone, fear of rejection, fear of being wrong. These fears breed insecurity, and it's through the collective that individuals try to mask that insecurity. But God's truth does not dwell in numbers. It resides in those who stand firm, unwavering in their conviction and purpose. When people group together solely for safety, they forget that true strength comes from within. It is not the group that protects them. It is their own faith, their own connection to a higher power. Those who lean on the group for power are like a ship adrift in a storm, tossed around by every wave, uncertain of where they are going, with no anchor to steady them. It is the individual who is anchored in God's purpose, who remains grounded, steady, and unwavering in the face of any storm. The illusion of power that comes from being part of a group can be comforting, but it is not the source of true strength. It's the same as being in a crowd and feeling protected. But when that crowd disperses, so does your sense of security. Individuals who rely on the crowd to feel strong will always be vulnerable when the group is no longer there to support them. In contrast, those who find their strength in God and in their own purpose need no such crutches. They stand tall, even in the absence of a crowd. Their foundation is built on something far stronger, divine guidance, a foundation that can withstand any storm and doesn't crumble when the crowd disappears. As long as people continue to seek validation and strength through group dynamics, they will remain trapped in the illusion of power. They will continue to mistake numbers for strength, believing that the crowd is invincible. But the truth is, it is not the number of voices that makes something true or right. It is the purity of the purpose behind those voices. Without the clarity of divine purpose, a group is nothing more than a collection of individuals hiding behind the safety of numbers. Their power is fleeting, their confidence fragile, and their influence only effective as long as they remain united in fear. The moment that fear is shattered, the illusion crumbles, exposing the truth, what they fear about you. The fear that others harbor when it comes to you is not rooted in what you do. It doesn't stem from your actions, your words, or your achievements. What terrifies them is something far deeper, something they cannot comprehend. It is the strength of your independence, the clarity of your purpose, and the unshakable foundation on which you stand. They are not afraid of the challenges you face, nor the victories you claim. They fear the very fact that you don't need them at all. You are a force of one, moving in alignment with God's will. and that is something they cannot replicate, control, or predict. Imagine a person who relies heavily on others, always needing reassurance and validation, much like a tree that cannot stand on its own and constantly seeks the support of nearby branches. They are used to feeling powerful when surrounded by others, believing that strength lies in numbers. But when they encounter someone who stands strong alone, unshaken by the noise around them, it disrupts their entire worldview. Your ability to walk through life with clarity, purpose, and a deep connection to God exposes their fragile dependence. It highlights their reliance on external validation and collective approval, things that you don't need. For them, this is uncomfortable. It forces them to confront the truth that they are not as self-sufficient as they would like to believe. Your faith, unwavering and rooted in something far beyond the fleeting opinions of others, is another source of their discomfort. It's as if you carry a light within you, and that light casts a shadow on everything around you, including their own insecurities. Your steadfast trust in God's guidance makes them uneasy because they can't manipulate it, they can't control it. They may try to use their influence, their schemes, and their numbers to impose their will on you, but they will always fall short because your power is not something they can touch. You don't seek their approval, and that unnerves them, for they know that your connection to God is what keeps you strong and steady in the face of any adversity. The truth is, their strength is built on a fragile foundation, one that relies on the approval of others, the safety of numbers, and the false sense of security that comes from being surrounded by a crowd. They need others to validate their worth, to make them feel significant, but you don't require any of that. You are like a mountain standing alone, unmoved by the winds that try to shake you. They are like a group of scattered leaves in the wind, constantly looking for something to latch onto for support. This stark contrast between your independence and their dependency is what truly frightens them. They may try to convince themselves that they are more powerful in groups, but deep down, they know the truth. Their power is superficial. When they are faced with someone who walks alone with clarity and divine purpose, they realize just how fragile their strength truly is. Your ability to stand firm, to stay true to your purpose, and to walk through life with unwavering faith exposes their weakness in the most uncomfortable way. It forces them to reckon with the fact that they depend on the collective to mask their insecurity, while you rely on nothing but your connection to God. In their eyes, your independence is not just a matter of preference, it's a challenge to their entire way of being. It forces them to confront their own lack of self-sufficiency and the uncomfortable truth that their power is not their own. It's borrowed from the approval of others. They can't stand the fact that you don't need them to feel strong, and that's what makes them feel powerless. They would rather stay in the comfort of their group, where they can hide behind the crowd and feel validated. But you are not like them, and that is exactly what they fear. You are not swayed by their opinions, their gossip, or their need to control. You stand alone, and in doing so, you reveal the cracks in their carefully constructed facades. Your strength lies in your faith, your purpose, and your ability to remain unshaken by the chaos around you. You are the embodiment of what they wish they could be: self-sufficient, confident, and unwavering. But instead of admiring these qualities, they fear them because they highlight everything they lack. Your independence doesn't just make them uncomfortable, it threatens the very foundation of their existence. It forces them to acknowledge that their dependence on others for validation is a weakness, something they can never admit to. They try to mask their fear by projecting their insecurities onto you. But it's clear that what they are really afraid of is the power of one who moves in alignment with God's will. When you stand firm in your purpose, you force others to face their own limitations. You expose the fact that their power is contingent on the approval of others, while yours is rooted in something far more powerful and enduring. They are afraid not of your actions, but of your very essence, your ability to stand alone, unaffected by their schemes, and confident in the divine guidance that directs your every step. Your independence, your faith, and your clarity of purpose shine a light on their fragility, and that is what makes them tremble. They cannot control you, and that is why they fear you. The one who walks alone. Being the chosen one often means walking a path that no one else is willing to tread. It's not just a matter of standing alone, but of embracing solitude as a source of strength, something that others find hard to understand. In a world where validation and the need for approval are so deeply ingrained, the idea of not needing anyone's approval can be a shocking concept. Those around you are accustomed to drawing their strength from the validation of the group, but you stand apart from that, carving out your own path with a confidence that comes from within, rooted in your connection with God. To walk alone is not a sign of weakness, but of profound strength. It's like a solitary tree standing tall in the middle of a barren field, unshaken by the storms that tear through the rest of the land. The tree doesn't need other trees to validate its existence. It stands because it was meant to, and its strength comes from its roots, deeply planted in the soil. This is what others fail to comprehend. They look at you and see someone without the safety net of groups, friendships, or alliances. To them, that might seem like a precarious position, but in truth, it is a position of power. The way you walk through life, unafraid of standing alone and unbowed by the whispers of others, forces people to reckon with the fragility of their own existence. They live in constant need of validation, seeking it in numbers, in groups, in the approval of others. It is their way of staying anchored, of confirming their place in the world. But when they see you standing alone, walking with purpose, unshaken and unwavering, it disrupts everything they've built. Your independence reveals their dependence, and that is something they cannot bear to see. Their carefully constructed lives, built around the need for validation, begin to unravel in the face of your solitary strength. In your solitude, there is clarity. You don't have the distractions that come from being enmeshed in the approval of others. While they are constantly trying to please, to fit in, to meet the expectations of those around them, you are free to focus on your divine mission. Your purpose is clear, and it doesn't waver based on what others think or say. You don't need external validation because you are already grounded in something far more powerful, your faith in God and your connection to His will. This divine alignment gives you a sense of direction that others are constantly searching for but never quite find. They scramble to follow trends, to fit in, to gain approval, but their efforts are always at odds with their true purpose. They lack the clarity that comes from walking in the light of God's guidance. This is why they fear you. You don't need them to feel validated, and that exposes the emptiness in their own lives. While they spend their energy trying to earn the approval of others, you simply walk forward, trusting in the plan that God has for you. It's as if you've unlocked a secret to living with true purpose, and it's one that they can't access. Their existence is tangled in a web of comparisons and judgments, while you move forward with unwavering clarity. The difference between their life and yours is like that of a river, constantly changing course, influenced by the landscape around it, and a mountain that remains unmoved solid, and constant, no matter the forces that act upon it. Your ability to stand alone is a direct challenge to their way of thinking. To them, survival in this world requires numbers. They rely on their networks, their circles, their alliances, and their social structures to feel secure. But for you, security lies not in these external things, but in your own inner strength, drawn from your connection with God. You don't need to surround yourself with people to feel significant. Your significance is already established in the truth of who you are and what you stand for. This terrifies those around you because it forces them to question the very foundation of their own lives. You are the embodiment of a different kind of power, one that is not derived from the approval of others, but from a divine source that cannot be shaken or moved. Those around you, trapped in their need for external validation, struggle to comprehend this. They think that to be strong, one must have the approval of others. But you show them that true strength comes from walking alone with God, without needing anyone's approval to validate your existence. It's like a flower that blooms in the wild, not for the praise of the people who pass by, but because it is its nature to bloom. Your existence itself is a statement, a bold declaration that you are enough as you are, without needing the affirmation of others. In your solitary walk, you shine a light on the reality of their lives. They are not as free as they believe themselves to be. They are bound by the need for acceptance, constantly seeking reassurance from the world around them. Your ability to walk alone, unhindered by these external forces, forces them to confront their own limitations. They are left questioning why they cannot seem to find the peace and clarity that you have, why they are always searching for validation in places that can never truly satisfy them. You are a living example of the power that comes from standing alone, of the strength that can be found in walking with God without the need for crowds, numbers, or external approval. It is a kind of power that disrupts everything they thought they knew about strength. They think strength comes from alliances, from the support of the crowd, but you show them that true strength comes from the quiet confidence of walking alone in alignment with God's plan. And that is why they fear you. You have revealed to them that their need for validation is a weakness, one that you have risen above. In your solitude, you have found something far greater, a connection to God that no one can take away. Facing the bombshell, the divine truth. There's a truth that, when revealed, sends shockwaves through everything. It is the kind of truth that changes everything in its wake, and it can't be ignored. This truth is not a small shift in perception. It is the realization that the strength you carry is not just your own. It is divine, a force rooted in God's guidance, and it cannot be understood, let alone manipulated, by those who rely on worldly measures of power. This truth is like a sudden burst of light in a darkened room, an undeniable presence that demands attention, and once it is known, there is no going back. For so long, those around you have relied on what they could see, touch, and measure. They believed that power existed in numbers, in groups, in alliances, in the whispered validations of others. To them, power was a game played with the rules of social dynamics, with the spoken words of approval and the unspoken contracts of collective agreement. They gathered in circles, exchanging approval like currency, using gossip and groupthink to create the illusion of strength. This collective validation gave them a sense of control over their lives and over others. But when the truth is revealed, the divine truth that your strength is not born of these earthly mechanisms but flows directly from God, It shatters everything they believed about power. Their reliance on numbers, alliances, and the approval of others crumbles in the face of someone who walks with divine clarity. They have spent so much of their lives constructing their identities based on the opinions of others, following the trends and whispers that give them a false sense of importance. Their power, though it may seem formidable at times, is a mirage built on fragile foundations of fear, manipulation, and consensus. It's like a house of cards, standing tall but wobbling with every breeze. One gust of truth, one moment of clarity, and the entire structure falls apart. The illusion they have built is exposed for what it truly is, empty and hollow, sustained only by the compliance of those around them. In contrast, your strength is like a mountain. It does not rely on the approval of others or the fleeting opinions of crowds. A mountain stands firm, unyielding, regardless of whether anyone is there to admire it. It does not need the affirmation of a group to know its worth, for it is grounded in something much deeper, something that cannot be moved by the opinions of men. Your strength is rooted in God, in His purpose for your life, and that connection to divine clarity elevates you above their games of manipulation. They may have used whispers and gossip to control others, but your foundation is built on something far more solid and unshakable. The bombshell truth is that their control was never real. They have used numbers to create the illusion of security, but that security was always based on fear and dependence. When you stand alone, unwavering, it exposes their deepest insecurity, that their strength is nothing without the approval and validation of others. You are the living proof that true power does not rely on external sources, that it is not something to be bargained for or manipulated. It is a gift, a divine gift that cannot be swayed by the shifting winds of social approval or gossip. Your actions, your ability to move through the world with clarity and purpose shake the very foundation of their existence because it forces them to confront the truth they have long avoided. Their power was always an illusion. This revelation is not just an awakening for them. It is a bombshell that disrupts everything they thought they knew about strength and control. The moment they realize that they cannot control you, that their manipulations no longer work, is the moment their world begins to unravel. They may try to use their numbers to overwhelm you, to drown you out with their collective noise, but your strength cannot be drowned. It is not a voice shouting in the crowd. It is a still, quiet voice that resonates deeply within, carrying the authority of God's will. It is a power that cannot be mimicked, a force that cannot be understood by those who rely on shallow tactics and external validation. This divine clarity you possess exposes their power for what it truly is: fragile, dependent, and ultimately meaningless. They cannot understand how you can move through the world so confidently, so resolutely, without needing to prove yourself to anyone. To them, this is unthinkable. How can anyone exist without the constant need for approval, for validation from others? But you have shown them that the true source of strength lies not in what others think, but in the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are walking in alignment with God's purpose for your life. This is the bombshell truth that terrifies them. The realization that your strength comes from a source they can never touch or comprehend. The more you walk in your divine clarity, the more their control slips away. The more they try to manipulate, the more they expose their own weaknesses. They thought they had the upper hand, that their power was secure because they had the numbers, the alliances, the gossip. But in reality, their power was always a house of cards fragile and dependent on the whims of others. And with every step you take in your divine strength, you expose that fragility. You show them that no matter how many they gather, no matter how much they scheme or whisper, they can never compare to the strength of someone who moves with the clarity of divine purpose. Embracing your divine purpose. At the heart of every individual lies a divine purpose, a calling that is uniquely yours, a destiny designed with intention and care by God. This purpose is not something you need to chase or prove. It already exists within you, waiting for you to recognize it and step into it fully. Just as a seed contains the blueprint for a tree, so too does your soul carry the map of your divine path. It is not shaped by the opinions of others or the applause of the crowd. It is carved by God's own hand, destined to unfold in its own time, according to His plan. The world around you may try to pull you in different directions, to sway you with distractions and doubts. It is easy to get caught up in the noise of opinions, in the constant shifting tides of what others think you should be or do. But you must remember that your divine purpose is not for the world to define. It is not measured by the standards of approval that others set. Just like a river, which doesn't seek permission to flow or ask for validation from the stones it encounters, your purpose is not dependent on external validation. It flows from within, fueled by your connection to God. You don't need others to tell you who you are or where you're going, because you already know. When you align with your divine purpose, you step into a power that transcends the limitations of human judgment. It's like a bird soaring high above the ground, untethered by the constraints of gravity. The bird doesn't worry about the opinions of those on the ground. It simply trusts its wings to carry it where it needs to go. In the same way, when you embrace your divine calling, you trust that God will guide you, and that no matter how many voices or obstacles try to stand in your way, you will rise above them. Your strength is not in numbers or approval. It is in the alignment with your true purpose, which is written in the very core of your being. There will always be those who doubt, those who try to undermine, and those who question your every step. Their doubts may stem from their own fears or insecurities, but none of that should sway you from the path God has set before you. The more you walk in faith, the more you'll realize that their voices become mere whispers, unable to drown out the clarity and certainty that comes from your divine purpose. It's like a storm trying to shake a mountain. No matter how fierce the wind blows or how much the rain falls, the mountain stands firm, unshaken by the elements. When you align with your divine purpose, you become that mountain, anchored in something much stronger than anything the world can throw at you. Remember that the truth of who you are and the power you possess cannot be hidden. It will always find its way to the surface. Just like the sun cannot be dimmed by the clouds, your divine light will break through the darkness, no matter how thick the clouds may seem. Your purpose is not something that can be overshadowed by the noise or opposition around you. It is something eternal, a flame lit by God that no one can extinguish. Those who try to dim your light, who seek to undermine your strength, will only expose their own weaknesses in the process. In the end, it is not their voices that will matter, but the truth of your purpose that will always prevail. Embracing your divine purpose means walking with the understanding that your path is sacred and that the strength you seek is already within you. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are walking in the direction that God has prepared for you. It's like a compass that always points north, no matter the storms or detours. When you trust in that inner guidance, you know that no matter how many forces come against you, they cannot stop what is meant to be. Your purpose is bigger than the doubts of others. It is bigger than the obstacles in your way. It is divine, and nothing can stand against God's will. This is the power you have access to, the ability to walk with unwavering faith, knowing that the truth of who you are and the strength you carry will always rise to the surface. You do not need the approval of others to validate your purpose. The only validation you need is the deep connection you have with God, who has already equipped you with everything you need to fulfill your divine mission. As you walk in this truth, you begin to realize that no matter how many try to gather against you, your purpose will always stand tall. It will always reveal itself, and in the end, the truth will always be victorious. So, walk boldly in the direction God has set for you. Stand firm in the strength that comes from knowing you are aligned with a purpose far greater than anything the world can offer. No matter how much resistance you face, no matter how many try to turn you away from your path, remember that your divine purpose is unstoppable. It is yours, and it will always prevail. If this message resonated with you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to bring these powerful insights and keep walking in divine purpose together. Thank you for being part of this journey.